وسلم على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We were talking about the sociological benefits of Salah and congregation, Jama'ah. I left a very important point for today. We talked about familiarity, building familiarity and trust in the masjid. We talked about Salah breaking down the status barriers that we have. Also talked about reducing isolation and building a sense of belonging to a community. Now we're going to move on to time management. It's a very, very common theme nowadays where we keep saying we don't have time. But most of the time, it's not a lack of time that's the problem. It's a lack of structure. To manage time, like full-time management, there are three things that we need. Number one is structure, the first one. Number two is the habits that we are going to fill that structure with. And number three is the discipline that will help us persist on being on that structure. So the first thing that we need to make is a structure. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He has made that structure for us. And it's a very customizable structure too. First, there are 5 different times which are hard anchors. They're called temporal anchors. 5 hard time anchors that are in place, non-negotiable. As soon as they happen, now already our time has been broken down into productivity chunks. It's like first chunk after Fajr and Zohar, that's the highest productivity chunk. And then from Zohar to Asr, Asr to Maghrib, Maghrib to Isha, like that. Now those chunks, how do we fill them? We need good habits. And lastly, once we have the habits, so we got the first part, the structure down with the Salah. The second one we need to figure out. We'll talk about it. The third one is being persistent on that schedule. That comes with discipline. So discipline and structure already taken care of. If somebody attends all 5 prayers in the mosque, they're already taken care of. How? Discipline, if you guys recall, we talked about it earlier in the first psychological benefits of Salah. We talked about how it builds discipline, how it helps us resist the internal pressure. So those 2 things are taken care of by Allah Azza wa Jal automatically if somebody can just do nothing really special, just abide by the schedule that's been given. The habits, now they're different. When the kids are young, the habits need to be inculcated by the parents. As they grow older, now their input's not gonna come from the parents. They won't accept it. Initially, you know how in behavioral psychology, they tell us that a young kid, when he's born, until the age of 4 or 5, his role model is his dad. He doesn't need to be told, do this. The dad does it, he'll come do it. And you'll see this in young kids, subhanAllah, when you're praying at home. If one of the parents is praying at home, they will come and lay down on the janimas, on the musalla. They'll be doing sajda. They want to do what you do. When they grow older, now their role model shifts. It's not their parents anymore. Now it's going to be their teachers. From the teachers, it's going to shift again to their friends. And at the end, it's going to change again to the environment. Or it's going to be either environment or another contrived identity. That's a separate topic. But the initial part is for sure. So what do we get from this? So we're already getting an amazing structure that most of us struggle with. And this is not just us, almost everybody. Other than the people who are very highly achieving, you'll see this in almost everybody. They are troubled by how they should manage their time. The students, this is, we see them on the phone, they'll just endless drifting, just scrolling, and time will just pass by. I remember I used to play video games competitively. I was sponsored and all. But the one thing that would get me up from my seat is, at that time I'd be like, oh, it's time for prayer. Like now this is not how we should respond to it. But at that time, that's how I was. I was like, oh, it's time for prayer, I have to go. So I would tell my friends, I would text them because online gaming. I would tell my team members, you guys can scrim. I have to go and I'll be right back. And they were like, where are you going? And I'm like, I'll just be right back. But that is one thing that would always get my ranking down. Even though I was one of the best ones in my team, but I would always feel like ranking in the last. But I remember like the feeling, like it's such a hard reset. You actually have to stand up and step out. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He knows the nature of human beings. Once we get into something, we will actually drift. So He has done that. He's made a beautiful structure for us. Now, as the seasons change, the structure starts changing slowly. Like, we are having salahs, especially in Lubbock, like the jump in Isha, it's pretty drastic. Not only is it changing with the seasons, it's changing with our internal biology as well. That's how our circadian rhythm works. And when we get up in the morning, you know how we have that hadith where the Prophet ﷺ tells us that there's barakah in the time right after Fajr. Now we find out that even science is corroborating. Obviously, we don't really care about science when we have hadith and Quran in front of us, but it's a corroboration. Now it's saying, oh yeah, you have high cortisol spikes when you get up and your activity is really nice and that's the time when you should do deep focus tasks. We already know if we follow it. And then we have until the afternoon, that lasts, afternoon, the Prophet ﷺ, around noon, there's a little bit of ikhtilaf as to if it was afternoon or slightly before noon, when he would do the qaylula, the power nap. And now we can see that our hormones actually start declining. The energy peak that we got initially, it starts going down, and we have an energy dip right around Zuhr time. He would do the qaylula then. And then we get if somebody does take a power nap, which is actually very productive, and nowadays everybody's told to do it, we realize that the power levels go back up. It's not as high as it was after Fajr, but it's still pretty high. And we get that until Asr. And after that, the melatonin starts kicking in because it gets dark. So what we're trying to discuss here is that it's a very sophisticated and customized schedule that has been given to us by Allah Azza wa Jal. Now it's upon us whether we take it or not. The world is moving to it. Have we moved to it? They're not even Muslims, and they're moving to it. Regardless of how they are coming to that conclusion, that's a different story, but they're moving to it. That is one thing. Secondly, our kids. Almost every parent, especially in the US and other developed countries, they complain about kids having short attention spans, being on the tablets, being on the phones all the time, not knowing how to manage time. Kids were really bright when they were at home. Eventually, when they went out for college, they just got into bad things and they're wasting their life away. The values that they were supposed to get when they were young, I don't think we did a really good job there. We let them sleep through Fajr because we're doing them a favor. They're going to be tired next day for school. Allah Azza wa Jal knew that there would be a future where there would be consistent schooling and there would be different times, but He still made this part. That means there's a reason. So we're not doing them a favor by letting them sleep. However, if we do wake them up, we give them one principle that about 90% of the population of the world lacks, that there are some things that are non-negotiable. You sacrifice for them, even if it means sacrificing your own needs. So you tell them that this is something that's non-negotiable, we have to do it. And this principle, it's a very transferable skill. There are times when you realize this at your work. You have to make deadlines, you don't sleep the whole night because you realize this is something I have to do. Our kids are deprived of it because we love them too much. This is not a favor we are doing them. So bring them for Fajr. And whatever salah we can bring them, we should bring them. So they start learning. They will learn through modeling, not through lectures. We do it with love, but we bring them. Don't force it. Like I said, young kids, when they're younger, we tell them a little bit, they'll be ready. They'll be like, yeah, I want to go. Dad, I always wanted to go with you. We stop kids from fasting, even when they want to fast, because they want to follow us. We stop them. So I think the best way is to actually let them do it. This is their fitrah. So may Allah Azza wa Jal enable us to actually follow the schedule that is the social divine design for the whole of society, it's a divine design. May Allah Azza wa Jal enable us to understand it and follow it, and also transfer these values to our wonderful kids. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب